In this video we're going to show you how to lay out the vectors and create the toolpaths for the part you can see on the screen. This is the short version of this tutorial where we're going to go through briefly and show you all the steps involved so you can see how quick and easy it is to do. There's a longer version of this tutorial where we go into much more detail at each of the stages. Let's start by opening a new copy of the software. I'm going to click on the icon to create a new file. I'm going to set up a job which is 15 inches in X, 10 inches in Y, half an inch thick material, and we're going to set the drawing datum to be in the center of the job. I'm not going to worry about the modeling resolution because there's no 3D objects involved in this, only 2D and 2.5D toolpaths. Let's hit the OK button. Now I want to create a couple of elliptical vectors to start with, so I'm going to click on the icon to draw an ellipse here. Going to anchor them in the center, and the first one I'm going to create is going to be 12 inches by 7.5 and hit create, and the second is going to be 13 by 8.5 and we'll hit create there as well. Close. Next I'm going to come up and import some Clipart, so I'm going to select OpenSign EPS from the project folder. We'll see that comes in slightly up and to the right of our job. I can click and drag that down if I want, or I may want to use tools here in order to specify that I want to locate that in the center of the job, and then resize that so that it has a width of 9 inches. Hit apply and close. Final piece of geometry I want to create is a couple of drill hole locations, so I'm going to click on draw circle. I'm going to specify the first of these to be at -6.25x 0y, 1/4 inch in diameter, and hit create, and then the other one is going to be at +6.25 in x, and same parameters for the other values. If we hit close there, now we've generated all the vectors we need in order to create the toolpaths. Just click on the icon that will minimize the drawing tab on the left, open the toolpaths tab on the right. Now the first thing to do is check our material setup, so we click on the set button here. I'm going to continue to work with Z0 off the top of the block, 1/2 inch material, but I'm going to change my XY0 position to be in the lower left hand corner now. So this doesn't matter what I choose here as long as I use the same setup on my CNC. I'm not going to worry about the model position because we don't have one. Rapid and home position look good, so we can hit OK. The first toolpath I want to create is going to be between the inner vector border here, and then holding shift and dragging up and to the left I'm going to select the vectors for our open text. I'm going to click on the icon for V carving, and for this I want to do a start depth of 0. I'm going to specify a flat depth here, so I'm going to check that box there. That means it'll truncate this down and provide a flat area for me to machine. I'm going to go down to 0.2 of an inch before we flatten off. I'm going to select a 90-degree V-bit for my V-cutting tool. I'm going to make sure the box is checked here to use a flat area clearance tool, and for that we're going to select 1/4 inch end mill. I'm just going to take the default settings for those tools. I'm going to use an offset area clearance pattern. I'm not going to worry about any of the rest of the settings. We'll just take the defaults, go ahead and hit calculate. That will automatically open the 3D view and my preview toolpaths form. If we look at the ISO view there, we can see what those two toolpaths that have been generated will look like. One with the end mill to do the majority of the area clearance, and the second with the V carving to give me the detail. I'm going to select these, I'm going to preview them. I'm going to specify a toolpath color for each of these so that we can see the area that's being machined, and with the first one we'll just cut that so we can see what's happening with the end mill, and then we can see what the V-bit is going to do in order to give us the detail and sharpen up these corners here. If I like the way that looks, we can close this. Let's go up and tile the windows so we can see both the 2D view and the 3D view. Next we could specify to drill the holes here, so I'm going to select those vectors, click on the drill toolpath icon, cut down to a depth of 3/8 of an inch with this 1/4 inch drill here. Hit calculate and preview, and we can see those have been added to our toolpaths there. Next we're going to cut out around the outside and put a bevel on it. And to do that, we can close the preview toolpath form, and with the vector selected, click on the icon to profile the toolpath. In this case, I'm going to go down to a depth of 0.2 of an inch. I'm going to select the same 90-degree V-bit that we used before, cut on the outside, just take the default settings, and we'll just give that an appropriate name, hit calculate. I'm going to change the color for this when we preview it to be kind of a blue color. We can preview that and see what that looks like now. So we zoom in, we can see the effect that that's going to give us around the outside of the vector. Finally, if we close this, I want to profile around the outside of this to cut the part out. So I'm going to come up and click on the icon for the profile toolpath. This time I'm going to cut slightly through my material, so I'm going to specify a value of 0.52. I'm going to select the 1/4 inch end mill, cut on the outside of the vectors, and again we'll just take the defaults, other than I want to add tabs to hold the part in place when we cut it out. So I'm going to check the box there, click on the edit tabs button, and I'm going to add 4 tabs. First tab at machining start point, and click on the add tabs button there, and we can see those indicated by the location of these T's in the yellow box in the 2D view. If I close this now, we can go ahead and give that a name, hit the calculate button. I get a warning telling me I'm going to cut slightly through my material, and as long as I'm meant to do that, then I can hit OK. I would only want to do that if I was using a sacrifice sheet on the bed of my CNC. Now if we preview that toolpath, then I'm going to see straight away that I've actually made a mistake there. It's a deliberate mistake to show you how useful the preview is. You can see with those settings I've just machined away my outside chamfer, so now I don't have that nice angled wall on the outside edge. What I need to do is either create a new vector that's bigger than that, or another way to approach it is to add an allowance onto that toolpath to force it to cut a larger oval. If we're going to do that, I can undo the last operation in the preview. I can close this, hit the edit icon, come down, and we can specify here that we want an allowance offset. If you don't see this option, you may need to check the box here to show advanced toolpath options. I'm going to enter a value of 0.15 of an inch that'll force it to cut an ellipse 0.15 of an inch larger on all sides. Now when we hit calculate, it'll recalculate, it'll give me the same warning, which I can still hit OK for. And if we preview that toolpath, we can see it's going to machine out around the job with the tabs to hold the part in place. And if we look there, I can see that I've now got the chamfer, which is going to be 0.15 of an inch wide based on that allowance offset that we've specified. So if we're now content that our preview looks correct, we'd be ready to output the toolpaths to the CNC. We can close the preview, select the first toolpath we want to save, click on the Save Toolpaths icon. Then we just want to provide the appropriate post-processor for our machine tool or our control. In this case we'll pick the G code, hit Save Toolpath, give that a name and hit the Save button, and that's the file that we're going to take over to our CNC. Set up the CNC according to the same values we've used in the file here, load the appropriate tool and be able to run the first of our toolpaths. Each subsequent toolpath I just select and save in exactly the same way. I'm not going to actually save the toolpaths here. If you are planning to cut these though, you need to make sure that you use appropriate material setup and toolpath parameters that are safe and appropriate for your particular machine, your material and your tooling. What I am going to do here though is if I wanted to, I could come up and say File, Save As, and save a copy of that file in the project folder. And we already have one of those from the longer version of this tutorial. So that concludes this quick run through of the process to create this open sign. As I mentioned at the start, there is a longer version of this if you want to see a more detailed explanation of each stage and follow along to create your own version. Thanks for watching this video.